So my name is Allie and this is my cousin Kendall, and today we're going to do a science experiment on how temperature affects the density of water. And to start off, the density of water is how tightly compact the molecules of water are. So something to note is the greater the density of the water, it will sink. The less dense the water is, it will float, it'll be on top. So we're going to start off by looking at our 2 jars of hot water and 2 jars of cold water. And we're going to start by making observations. So use your 5 senses and tell me what you see.
The water with ice is more colder,
Okay.
and the water that has no ice is that a little bit like just it's warmer.
Okay. All right. Can you write that down for me? And while you're writing that down, I'm going to put in blue food coloring in the cold jars. And red food coloring in the jars with hot water. And I'm going to mix that together. Okay, now that I've added the color in there, is there another observation you can make?
That the red is more tinted, and the blue you can see it clearly.
Good job. All right.
Can you write that down?
Yes, write that down, please. All right, so now, based off our observations, we're going to come up with a question. So let's see, the cold water is more see-through than the hot water. So what do you think that means in relation to the density? Like, do you have a question about that?
What would happen if we put them together?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, do we think the hot and the cold water will mix?
Yeah.
Because they have the same density? All right, so now we're going to come up with a hypothesis. An hypothesis is an educated guess, and it's going to be an if-then statement. So if our question is, will the water mix? Our hypothesis will be, if we put hot water on top of cold water, then they will mix together. Okay? So that's what you're going to write for our hypothesis, and that's what our experiment is going to test. And that's what we think is going to happen. All right. You ready for the experiment?
Yes.
All right. So our hypothesis. If we put hot water on top of cold water, then they will mix together. All right. So I got the hot water. I'm going to take my jacket off because this can get messy. Yep, good job. Then they will mix together. All right, good job. You ready to see what happens?
Yes.
All right, so we got the hot water.
Oh no.
It'll be all right. We can still continue. All right. So let's see what happens.
It looks like they're not mixing.
Right. The hot water stayed on top, didn't it?
Yep.
And the cold water stayed on the bottom.
Yep.
Okay, so you can record that in your results. Right there, you see where your results are? They did not mix. Oh, you twist that one. The little bottom. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what does that tell us about the density of hot water?
That hot water
Is less
is less.
dense than cold water because it stayed on the top. Okay, so now knowing that, what do you think is going to happen if I put the blue, the cold water, on top of the hot water?
They might not still mix. They might not mix.
You think they still might not mix? If cold water is denser, it'll sink.
So it won't mix no more.
So you think it won't mix? All right, let's test this out. Let's see if I can do it without making quite as big a mess.
Well, I feel like it might.
You think it will mix?
Yes.
Because the cold water might
We'll
sink
see,
to the bottom? Let's see. That one was much better.
And it mixed.
It mixed completely, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So record that in your results. You can just put cold water sunk to the bottom. All right, perfect. So let's talk about our results. So our results were
Okay.
all right. So our results. What happened when we put the hot water on top of the cold water?
They did not mix.
And then what happened when we put the cold water on top of the hot water?
They did mix.
So why did the hot water not mix with the cold water?
Because the hot water basically doesn't absorb as much.
Because the hot water is less dense.
Oh.
It's less dense than the cold water, so it'll float. So, after seeing all this, do you think temperature affects the density of water?
Yes.
Yes, because the hot water floated, and then the cold water sank to the bottom and mixed. All right. Thank you.